So here we are again, and it's been quite difficult, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. So on the last video, on our last cat video, we talked about how one of the kittens unfortunately had something called Flat Chested Kitten Syndrome, which is something that not a lot of vets know about, especially in this country. Unfortunately, it's not very well documented, so therefore it's very hard to know what to do and how to treat it. But unfortunately, our little boy, he wasn't able to be treated. He just wasn't destined to make it, and so he sadly passed away a couple of weeks ago.
So sad.
Yeah, very, very sad.
And there's nothing they could do. They couldn't.
No, we took him to 3 different vets. We even had, I think it's called the Royal College of Vets or something like that, in Hertfordshire. We had them advising us as well. But unfortunately, you know, with everything in the world, there was nothing that could be done.
So what is this syndrome exactly?
So it's still not 100% sure what causes it, because there can be different causes. It can be pneumonia, which can be treated with antibiotics. So we did try a course of antibiotics just in case it was caused by pneumonia, but it wasn't.
So it's at birth. He was born with it, or
no? This is the really strange thing. Sometimes kittens can go flat within a few days of being born. Other times it can be around the 10-day mark, which is what happened with us. And there's all these different theories on what can cause it, whether it's genetic, whether it's something that just happens.
We've got one coming towards us now.
Got a little kitten crawling towards us. I'm sure you'll see her in a minute. So we're not sure what caused it. His 2 sisters are very, very healthy, and they're still with us, which is amazing.
I'm going to pick her up. She's just right there. She is so cute.
This is the naughty one.
Oh, she's so cute. And what's her name?
Siggy, we've called her.
Siggy.
And she's the playful one. But yeah, I mean, there was nothing that could be done, unfortunately, for our little boy, who we named Ragnar after a Viking warrior. His ribcage was just really, really flat, so you can imagine all his organs were squashed. He had difficulty breathing. He was never in pain, which is something that we really wanted to make sure that he wasn't in pain, because obviously we would have put him down if he had been in pain. But the vets assured us that he wasn't in pain, and then he just passed away on a Sunday. And yeah, it was very sad, but it was a really good way to go, actually. He had his mummy there, and his sisters, and me and my husband were there as well, just making sure that he was okay, and he passed away.
How do you deal, you know, as adults? Grief is really, really difficult, but what, you know, with pets, is it the same process, or how do you deal with grieving with it? You know, it's quite hard, especially when there's children around and they're aware of it. It's really difficult.
Yeah, I think grieving for a pet is like grieving for a family member, because they are so close to you. And even though we only had Ragnar for a few weeks, he was a huge part of our family. And he was such a character. He was the first one to open his eyes, first one to escape the nest. So we really did love him. So it was very hard. But there were ways that we sort of coped with it. So we buried him in my parents' garden, because we don't have a garden here at the flat. So we buried him at my parents' garden, and I think that was an important part.
It's closure, isn't it?
Yeah, it was closure. Yeah. And we're going to get a nice little sort of memorial stone for him, to mark the spot in the garden. And also I just found that printing off my favourite picture of him, putting it in a photo frame in the room where the cats sleep, it just really helped, because it's kind of like he's still there.
Absolutely.
You know? So I think there are definitely ways to cope with it, and I think talking about it as well, talking about it with your friends or family, and getting support from them is important as well,
and letting yourself grieve, you know, having that time to grieve, having that time to cry. And because you were there from the beginning, and you cut the umbilical cord.
I was there from the beginning, and he was so tiny. I think it's always harder when a pet, or obviously a person, is young, because you think it's so unfair. But the main thing is, he didn't suffer. He didn't suffer, and he had a short life, but it was a happy life.
And he was quite a character, wasn't he?
He was a real character.
And he was the first one to walk out, the 3 of us.
First one to walk, first one to open his eyes, first one to escape. If he'd lived, he would have been very, very naughty.
Mischievous, yes.
But what's lovely is that his 2 sisters have survived, and they are going to survive, and they are very, very healthy and very, very naughty.
Do you think that impacted them and the mother?
Well, that's interesting, because in the last sort of 2 days of his life, he sort of slowed down, so he wasn't escaping the nest anymore. He wasn't playing, and apparently it's quite common in nature for animals to reject an ill cat or kitten or whatever the animal is. It's quite common, but they never rejected him, and neither did his mummy, which is really nice. And they would wash him and sleep with him, but they wouldn't really play with him. So it was like they knew. It was like they knew. Yeah. Oh, and that's another thing. Before I forget, I think it's really important. Our mummy cat Nala, we made sure that she saw the body. She was there when he was passing away, but she didn't know what was going on. Yeah. But then afterwards, when we were about to take him to my parents to bury him, we made sure that she saw the body, because we thought it was really important for her to know. Yeah. And she prodded him a couple of times with her paw, trying to make him move, and then she licked him, and that was it. That was her goodbye. That was her goodbye. And she's been okay. She hasn't grieved. Yeah. I think because she knows. I think if we'd taken him away suddenly, then she would have been confused. Yeah, I do think there has to be stages of it, and you do have to grieve. Yeah. And it is a really, really hard thing for anyone to deal with. But you've done really well. Thank you. And thank you for sharing your story. That's okay. I hope that what I've said might help anyone out there who's dealing with a similar thing. Yeah.